But if someone is willing to spend $32 million on a condo in New York City in the middle of a pandemic, then that is certainly a good sign for condo markets throughout other urban areas. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, Thursday, January 14th, in today's episode of the Shawn and Matt Show, we're going to be talking about three topics in the real estate industry. Number one, the condo market is coming back to life. Number two, the worst kept secret in real estate, Compass IPOing. And then number three, NAR, Capitol-storming Realtors, and just the whole shebang about real estate agents and social media and making terrible decisions in the public eye. Which of these are you most excited about?
Oh, I like them all. I mean, I'm super excited to hear about the condo market coming back because, you know, that's what we do. We sell a lot of condos. And last week, I think I did a prediction that this was going to turn around. And then all of a sudden now there's an article that we're going to talk about. I'm hoping this is true. And I feel like this is going to happen. And I think that's my number one. So let's get into it, huh?
Beautiful transition. Yeah. Let's start with that. An article from Inman came out that said the demand for Manhattan luxury real estate roars back to life. Home buyers signed 27 contracts valued at $4 million last week, according to a new report from Ocean Realty. Buyers have not signed that many contracts above $4 million since March.
So $4 million each.
$4 million each.
Or above, yeah. So 27 contracts, that's a lot.
Do you remember those articles that came out in March and April about New York City being dead?
Yep.
And it's done and it's finished?
It's over and the whole city's going to fall apart. And, you know, this is New York City we're talking about.
Yeah.
And yes, we did see a big exodus, but, I mean, come on. This is a huge financial district.
New York City's not a fad.
Right.
It wasn't like New York City's hot from 2000 to 2015.
Right.
You know, New York City has been hot since what? Forever.
Yeah.
Since 1930, since, you know.
18, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't even know. Like,
exactly.
whatever. Yeah, for a long, long time. So is it really going to have the huge exodus? Yes, it had a big exodus, and people were looking for the funny thing is I just talked to an old friend of mine where I used to live up in the Poconos for a while, and he was saying that his daughter lives up on the Upper West Side and with her boyfriend, and they have a nice apartment up there, but they're currently living in his house. They've moved out of New York and are staying out until like the whole COVID thing gets better. So it's funny that I just talked to him about that.
Where does he live? Where does he live?
He lives in the Pocono Mountains, so
okay,
it's about an hour and 45-minute drive from New York. But, you know, they're all working remotely. But, you know, as soon as things start easing up, which I'm hoping happens soon, and I think we all are, that is going to change everything, and people are going to start moving back. But here's the thing. As we see the 4 million and above investors or buyers buying into New York, who buys first? It's the people with a lot of money that are willing to take those risks and see the value and say, holy cow, like right now I can buy this place. It was 18 million. I can get it for 15.6 million. I'm buying it, right? And that's what the savvy investor does. That's what the smart person does. They buy when no one else is. And then everybody starts rushing in to get in. And what happens? The prices go straight back up. So this is the time. You know, this is the smart time.
Yeah, no, I'm smiling because that's exactly the script of what's happening. A couple quick notes on the 27 contracts that were signed. Over half the contracts were sponsor sales, essentially new construction developer sales at a discount. So this isn't to say, you know, everything's back to normal and prices are the exact same. What happens first is buyers start buying. The savvy buyers buy. It's like, you know, what Warren Buffett says, you know, be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. So half of these were, you know, discounted prices from developers. However, the number one most expensive contract, Upper East Side, East 79th Street, asking $32.5 million. So if someone's going to spend around 30 mil to purchase in New York City, that's the juxtaposition to say that, okay, in DC, in Seattle, in LA, in some of these other markets that don't have $30 million condos. By the way, the most expensive condo ever in Georgetown just listed for $18.5 million.
Wow. It's all going to turn around.
Every Florida realtor's favorite tagline was, everyone from New York City is moving to Florida. And while that might have been a trend, that's what it was, a trend. And, if you're going to spend $32 million on a place, why not have a place also in Florida?
That's exactly right. So they're going to buy in Florida. I mean, we're all wanting to buy in Florida because it's warm. That's where we go. That's where we dream about, right? Somewhere warm in the winter months. But, reality is it's all going to come back. And what happens is when we start, New York starts kind of the trend, right? So usually you're going to follow those big cities. And DC, I talked to some people where they feel like the DC market, the condo market, is starting to come back a little bit. I showed a property down in DC the other day, and I was like telling my client, listen, the condo market's a little bit soft, so you might have a choice. They got an offer on it that first weekend. So that goes to show you that the right properties, priced right, they're going to sell. And so don't be afraid to list your property at different times. Don't think that, because the condo market's slow, my condo isn't going to sell. That's not always right. You have to prepare it. You have to price it right, and it will sell.
Let me leave you with a few statistics to put a bow on this. So to put things in perspective, this data comes from Shawn Realty, actually really good information on their website, olshan.com. For the $4 million mark in Manhattan in 2020, for April 2020, 9 condos sold. For May 2020, 11. So basically 20 condos sold in April and May during the pandemic, during everything. Compare that to 2019. In April saw 51 condos sell, and in May saw 59 condos sell. So essentially you saw basically a complete shutdown of the condo market. And then as we're getting closer to December, in December we saw 50 condos sell in 2020 compared to 2019 where you saw 55 condos sell above $4 million. So in December, we're essentially back at the same number. So it's certainly a good sign that the written pending offers are now higher than they were in March.
That's
so
great.
Moving on, let's take a look at Compass. And we recently put out a video on predictions and Compass IPOing, and
I was wrong.
And there it is.
A little quicker than I expected.
I wasn't immediately going to say that. So Compass, this article comes from Inman.com, officially files paperwork to go public. They will be going on the market. They are going to IPO, and as I opened up the segment with, this is the worst kept secret in real estate. Everyone kind of knew this was going to happen, but weren't quite sure on when it was going to happen. And there are a lot of publicly traded companies. Realogy is publicly traded. That has a lot of brokerages. Redfin is publicly traded. Zillow is publicly traded. EXP is publicly traded. So it's not necessarily a surprise. It's more so now is the time where I think the investors and the investment banks that invested in Compass are now looking for some sort of return on their money once Compass goes public. So Shawn, other than your initial reaction of not making this bold prediction, what are your thoughts on Compass IPOing?
Actually, I like it. Because what it does, I feel, is gives a solid ground for, I would say, the normal real estate company, right? Even though, and I'm putting this in, I guess, in a couple different segments, but if you think about Zillow and Zillow brokerage, and that's, I think, the fear in the real estate market, right? Zillow was the animal, the Trojan horse, as I call it, that was the tech company that now is becoming a brokerage. Whereas, like you said, some could argue that Compass actually is a tech company, but they started as a brokerage, right? They didn't start as a tech company itself. They started as a brokerage. And I feel like for some reason, maybe this gives us some sort of stability in the real estate market and saying, all right, well, we do have huge players in the market like Realogy, like Compass, like EXP, and we're not going anywhere. And just because Zillow is on the rise, hopefully they can become part of the market and not take over the market, and we still have that good foothold, you know?
Yeah, and you know, Compass is interesting because I think some people would argue that they are a tech company, and I might have mentioned this in a video before, and there's a lot of good aspects about Compass that I love. I love that they offer their bridge loan services. I love that they've kind of taken the Curbio model of remodeling and then, you know, not paying until closing. So essentially fronting all renovation costs for their clients. Compass Concierge, I believe that's called. So they do provide really well packaged marketing for their clients, their sellers, and you know, I think they've handpicked a lot of the top agents in the area from other brokerages, and they've signed on with you know, with really good signing bonuses and you know, possibly good splits. I don't know what the splits are, but from what I've heard, and you know, what I hear from other Compass agents, I hear that they love to be there and they love the company. I'm wondering what happens when all the you know, the shine wears off. You know, you sign, you know, the splashy new contract. You know, you get the logo in black and white with your initials. What happens after that? Yeah, at the end of the day, you're still just, you know, John Smith, real estate agent.
That's right.
You know, and so you can, you know, create a company culture, and I think they've done a really good job. And, you know, there's been a few agents that have, you know, left and returned back to their former brokerages. It'll be interesting to see what the public thinks about Compass, because I'm looking up numbers right now, and more than 17,000 agents serving vibrant communities across the U.S. That's from the Compass website.
Does it say when it was founded? When was Compass founded?
Compass was founded. Someone on Instagram Live, tell me when Compass was founded. They were founded in 2012.
Okay.
They did have to lay off some people during quarantine, but I think everyone, you know, to some measure had to lay someone off. But what I want to get to is, I think a lot of the focus has been on Compass when there's another brokerage that I'm seeing big things from, and that's EXP. Yeah. EXP has 31,000 agents. Now, I don't know what the volume is, you know, EXP compared to Compass, because you can brag about, you know, we have this many agents, or we did this many, you know, this much volume. You can say you did like, you know, 5 billion in sales, but then when you have like 5,000 agents, it's like, okay, each agent did
3 transactions.
They did 3 transactions.
Yeah.
But I feel like EXP is going to be I see EXP and Compass kind of in the same category of, like, EXP is all virtual. Compass is not, but I kind of see these as the forefront of the future of splashy brokerages that have just like come on the scene and have gotten, you know, the real estate world buzzing.
Yeah, and in the end, it's all about marketing, right? So if you're marketing yourself correctly, we're all independent, you know, contractors. So if you're not marketing yourself, it doesn't matter what brokerage you're with. If you're not marketing yourself, you're not doing anything. And one thing that Compass, I guess, does well, or one of their spiels was, hey, we have a marketing team behind you. You're going to have your own marketing team. So instead of you trying to do it yourself, you're going to have this already built in. We have the people, and which is really smart, because one thing that's really hard for us as real estate agents is to do our own marketing, to actually think of the things that we need to start doing. And while we're out there selling, we have so many different jobs in our one single job, right? To keep ourselves afloat, you've got to do the marketing. You've got to be out there selling. You've got to be showing properties. So how do you do it all? And then you've got the transactions to take care of. So, you know, what they did was kind of change the market, or change the real estate aspect of a brokerage to say, all right, we've got all these tools for you that we're just going to do for you. Now, the great thing about, you know, maybe the company we work for, we also have those tools. They just weren't integrated from the beginning, kind of like how they did it. But, you know, in the end, it's up to you as the real estate agent to do your own work, to spend your own money, to really push yourself to be on the top.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that I like about Compass. And in the article, it says Compass was last valued at $6.4 billion when it raised $370 million, with SoftBank leading the way in July of 2019. And I think Compass has put together a really enticing package for, you know, that real estate agent that has a good book of business but has caught themselves doing tasks that like an admin or a marketing person should do. Like there was an agent I just saw, you know, she's one of the top agents in her office, and she was talking about doing, you know, and entering in a listing into the MLS. It's like, well, maybe you outsource that to a marketing team that can enter that information into the MLS itself. So
Yeah.
I like what Compass has to offer. Are you going to be buying Compass stock?
No, because what's going to happen is it's going to flash and it's going to fly up, right? So if you can get in the beginning phase, yeah, but it's so hard to get in.
Right.
And then it's going to flash up, and then I think it'll probably settle back down, right? So just give it some time, I believe, but I'm not a buyer at this point.
What if it flashes up and then trickles back down? You gonna buy?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I see an
opportunity?
opportunity, I'm always a buyer. Yeah, you know.
Cool.
There's so many I've lost my shirt on, so I'm careful now.
All right. Well, moving on to the third topic, and you know, we at some point we have to talk about, you know, what happened in the nation's capital, and you know, this isn't a political conversation. This is more so about ramifications of realtors doing things and putting it on their social media platform. And now an article came out on Inman stating that NAR, the National Association of Realtors, won't penalize, won't rule out penalties for realtors who, quote unquote, stormed the Capitol. So NAR put out a statement that said, "We are committed to taking any action that is deemed appropriate and is in the best interest of our association, our 1.4 million members, and our nation as a whole at the conclusion of these investigations." I'm not sure what specific investigations that they're doing. And this brings up an interesting point. And, you know, when I started on social media, started with MySpace, started by just taking a selfie.
I was huge on MySpace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the Lions? What was the band name you had?
Oh, Fight the Lion.
Fight the Lion. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a band way before that, my friend.
Okay. So on MySpace, you know, I'm 12, 13 years old, 2003. And, you know, you're putting yourself out on the internet. And I think my mom told me, hey, anything you put out there, you need to be able to tell someone face to face, or you just need to understand that everyone is going to find out about it. And at a certain point, a couple of years after that, I just decided that everything was going to be public. Like, I just wanted full, like, you know, before it's like, you don't want to tell people your full name. You want to have a screen name. And now it's like full transparency, first name, last name. And, you know, a couple rules that I have for myself are, you know, don't talk about politics on social media, and don't talk about, you know, race on social media, just because you're digging yourself a deep hole unless, you know, you work in that field and you're, you know, active in that field. You know, there's nothing good about posting political things on social media.
I 100% agree. I never do it, and I never will. I think people make huge mistakes by doing that, because it's just the political climate is so, you know, it's such at a flashpoint right now. And, you know, to be doing anything like that and pushing it out there is stupid.
So the reason that, you know, I went into that and that we're talking about this is because with the events that happened at the Capitol on January 6th, you know, it's come to light that there have been multiple real estate agents that either filmed themselves, talked about, bragged about, or like literally showed themselves storming the Capitol, you know, saying that they're going to break windows, saying that they're going to trespass onto federal property, saying that they're going to, you know, do all these things. And then after they did that, they literally, you know, clicked submit or like publish to my Facebook.
That's a conscious choice.
Yeah.
You know?
And so how do we deal with real estate agents that say, yes, I would like to possibly commit a felony. Yes, I am going to, commit misdemeanors and post them on my public profile.
Yeah.
Whose job is it to tell that agent that, like, you've just made a terrible mistake, you need to lose your license or something like that?
Well, here's the thing. First, is it criminal, right? So they're probably going to be brought up on charges, right?
So if you trespass on federal property, I'm pretty sure that's a crime. Now, if you burn buildings, if you steal from CVS, that's also a crime.
Anything that has been happening
if
recently,
you want to protest, sure, protest.
That's legal.
If you light things on fire, if you break Capitol windows,
it's a criminal event.
And then
you should be prosecuted
social media
as a criminal. And here's my thought on it, right? If they're caught, they're bragging about it. Hopefully there's an investigation into them.
But who is investigating?
So the feds or local police?
Hopefully the police.
The police. That is number one, right? So there has to... I don't believe NAR should be jumping in and levying fines for people that have posted something on social media. Let the law enforcement people take care of them first, right? Once they're proven, all right, they did do a crime and they're going to have to go to court for this, and there's going to be a public filing that this person was convicted of this crime. Once you're convicted of that crime, guess what? It's out there, right? And when I have to sign papers as a real estate agent with DPOR, I have to say, do I have a criminal record? Yes or no, right? Thankfully, I say no on that. And these people have to then say yes. And then there's going to be something looked into on that. So I think on the local level, it's already taken care of. Will NAR have to do anything? I don't think so. I think the local level is going to take care of it. My opinion, but... Yeah,
and I kind of compare myself to the NFL, simply because I have signed on to separate associations. I got my license through DPOR. I'm a part of Northern Virginia's Association of Realtors, NVAR. I'm a part of Virginia Association of Realtors, VAR, and I'm a part of the National Association of Realtors, NAR. So I'm not just some guy who's just standing on the sidewalk asking if people want to buy or sell houses. Like, I'm literally associated with trade organizations that have rules and laws and bylines and code of ethics. And in the NFL, it's the same sort of deal. Players, they can't just go on Twitter in the middle of games and just talk about whatever they want to talk about. If they say something that they shouldn't, or if they're out partying, at clubs or bringing adult entertainment to their house and then posting it after a loss to the Seattle Seahawks, there's going to be repercussions for that. And it's the same way with, real estate agents. Now, at what point does a national association start picking out and saying, oh, you broke a window on January 6th, you lit a fire here, you got a DUI 2 years ago? In the NFL, there's a trial, there's a hearing, and then the NFL, may discipline them. With real estate agents, has a crime been committed? Yes. Okay, well then let the police handle that. NAR, if it gets to that level, if the police say, yes, this person's been committed of a crime, okay, what's the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors going to say? Are they going to say, hey, listen, you just can't be a realtor anymore? Or is it going to be the Virginia Association of Realtors saying, hey, listen, like, we saw you on Twitter, everyone saw you, throw this rock through a window or something like that? I don't know at what point you get the National Association of Realtors to come in and say, okay, we can't have this.
I think it's overkill at that point, because there's going to be disciplinary actions, and there's the court of public opinion too. Like, if a lot of people see that and they don't want to use that realtor, they're not going to use that realtor. That's punishment, right? Because listen, if you're going to be out there, that public, doing something so stupid and, it's just publicly, like, that's just, you're shooting yourself in the foot, So Yeah, I think let the police take care of it. Then once the police take care of it, then your local governing, Virginia DPOR is going to see that you're a criminal. You did something wrong, and there's going to be disciplinary action in that, I believe.
If it gets to NAR, you have lost your license far before that. Yeah, and you're probably sitting in jail right now. But it also brings up another point that is similar to this, which is a new provision from the NAR Code of Realtor Ethics, which has also caused a stir among real estate agents saying, oh, we no longer have free speech, where our amendment is being suppressed. And the Standard of Practice 10-5 states realtors must not use harassing speech, hate speech, epithets, or slurs based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. So for those realtors that don't use hate speech, probably not an issue. But for those realtors that do use their Facebook in a way that I can't seem to understand, those agents seem to have a problem with this new code of ethics.
Yeah, I mean, well, we all abide by this code of ethics. And I think being professional, once a realtor, always a realtor kind of thing. You have to be in that professional kind of state of mind at all times, or else people are going to judge you for it, And like I said, court of public opinion means a lot first, because if you're going to say these things publicly and you're going to be putting them on your site, people are not going to use you. And so I don't know. I mean,
yep. And let's get one thing straight. I don't think protesting is hate speech, harassing speech, or slurs based on race, color, etc. The second you step onto federal property, or even
and that's where we have to be careful. Is a lot of these people, I want to make sure that the criminals are being tried for their criminal things, but the people at the protests, whether it's whatever protests it was, that they're not being labeled as criminals just because they were there, just because things happen.
Of course not.
And that's the that's
but again, this is a trade organization, and the code of ethics isn't a code of breaking the law, or it's not a policing organization. It's a trade organization that states, hey, listen, if you want to be in our organization, you need to abide by these code of ethics. I don't think protesting is violating these standard of practices, but I do think if you start to publish videos and you start to get a little keyboard happy, that you could be in violation of 10-5.
That's it. Don't do it.
Wow, what a topic. Man, 2021 off to a crazy start so far. Well, guys, there you have it. Condos are back. Compass is public. And just watch what you say on social media. Anything you say on social media can and will be used against you. All right, well, we'd love to know your thoughts or comments on this video. Be sure to drop them in the comment section below. And for Shawn and myself, until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.